Now that we've seen a few miracles in the Genesis and Exodus stories, I'd like to take some time to talk about miracles. In the Abel text, section 5, 10, and 11, he talks about miracles, and he presents a very rational and traditional presentation of miracles. Basically, a miracle as a God breaking the normal laws of nature to give a sign of his existence. Again, he says, hey, that if you believe in the transcendent, if you believe in God, then that's not irrational, right? Again, it's not something you can prove in a scientific sense or using the scientific method, but he says, hey, it's not irrational, right? And he goes to point out normally God works through nature, but a supernatural event is something unusual, out of the ordinary, and it's a sign that this visible world is not the only reality. Okay, but he definitely is setting up here the traditional sense of a miracle as something outside of the order of nature. Along with these great Catholic and Christian thinkers of the past. Okay, I would like to just bring up a few questions about this traditional view of miracles as something outside of the laws of nature. First of all, God created the world good. God expressed himself in the world. It seems like if he's going to all of a sudden stop that expression to prove himself, or again, no, prove himself is the wrong word, but to show himself, that seems like he's going against himself. You know what I mean? Seems like he says, here I am, I'm creating everything good, I'm expressing myself, I'm in, right? Isn't he in the world? Isn't he? Don't we see him in Genesis 2 walking in the garden? Don't they hear him? So I think in some ways talking about a miracle in this way may mistake the transcendent for something external, right? Like just beyond, right? You might think of the universe as something that is separate from God, right? When it's not, right? Creation is in the womb of God. It's like the child in his mother's womb. If God was going to stop the laws of nature to reveal himself or show himself, that'd be like the mother ripping her womb open to show herself to the child or to feed her baby, right? No, the baby is fed through the womb, and the womb is engulfed in the mother, right? So again, remember, transcendent means going beyond, which shows that it already exists in. So I think sometimes I think people think, if we think about miracles like God breaks into nature, he's already there. He suspends the laws of nature, right? He gives all things their being. So that's one reason I have some questions about it. Second of all, who understands the law of nature so comprehensively that they can say that something happened outside of the laws of nature? Like what? You understand like the everything about the universe? Like that was outside the laws? Right? Just because you don't understand what happened doesn't mean it's outside the laws. Maybe it just means you don't understand the laws. Right? And so in that way, I think this understanding of a miracle is something strictly supernatural, like something that breaks the laws of nature. I think that it kind of makes a mistake, that it kind of thinks that because we don't understand something, right, or because it goes against our understanding of the laws, then it's outside the laws, right? Remember, what are we talking about here? The perceptible and the imperceptible. We're talking about the transcendent being something beyond the visible. It doesn't mean it breaks laws, right? Maybe it's just beyond our perception of the laws, right? Like a colorblind person, they see blue. If they never saw blue before, they're like, oh my gosh, what's happening? It's not supernatural. It's just something they haven't experienced before, and they don't know how it happened, right? So because something is invisible, because something is beyond our understanding or beyond our perceptions, right? because it's beyond the empirical world. It doesn't mean that it's operating outside of the same laws that the world is operating in. Right? It also, I think, undermines and devalues the way God works in and through His creation. It's kind of like saying, well, God usually works a little bit through the world He creates, but when He really gets serious, He really wants to show something, He breaks in. He just, rips apart what He'd been doing. Again, that's like violent, That's it. And if He's just making such an obvious sign by breaking the laws of nature, then what happened to the whole thing about it being a choice? Right? What happened to this non-violent revolution? That doesn't really set with it either, right? Finally, it's just not the way that people use the term miracle today. It's not what it means to people. Someone's loved one suddenly recovers from an illness and no one knows why. They say, "Oh, it's a miracle." It doesn't mean that people think, "Oh, there's no scientific explanation for this. Like no one will ever figure out what happened." No, they just see God working in their lives, right? I mean, it's not limited to the magical, so to speak, right? One time there was another teacher that taught at my school, and she had a student from another country where Christianity was not popular in her part of the country. She didn't really know anything about it. And after a semester or something, the student came up to her and said, "Oh, I understand. Like Mary's magic." And she was telling me this. I was like, "Oh, this kid totally didn't get it." But I was, thinking like, well, isn't that what you're describing? Like when you're giving examples of all these supernatural miracles? And, she was like, "Oh, no, it's because it's God, so it's not magic." Oh, well. No, basically, it is. And that's what it's all about, a show of power, right? But I'm not sure if that's the way that God is revealing Himself. It seems to me that He reveals Himself in works of love. So again, remember, like it's not like the transcendent is just outside of the universe, right? And like here's the universe, and then when you get to the end of it, there's the transcendent. I had a student once that argued that heaven was where the universe ended. And I tried to explain to them that the universe didn't end; it was just expanding. And they said, "No, keep going, you'll get there." Now, that's not it. That's not the right vision. Remember, transcend, climbing beyond. To climb beyond something, you have to be in it in the first place, right? So, the transcendent is that which is in the universe and beyond it, right? And when I say universe, what does that even mean? What are we talking about? We're talking about the perceptible world and the imperceptible world, right? Are there necessarily different laws? Does everything change, because we can't see it? No. What if it's the same rule of God, right? But when it's applied in the perceptible world, things we can see, right? It makes sense to us. We can say, "Look at this order. Look how this works. Bam, bam, bam." But if the same law transcends or goes beyond our understanding, the things that we can perceive, well, then is that what people are talking about when they're talking about supernatural? Because then it's not the laws of nature or the laws of God or whatever you want to call it that changes. Right? It's just the fact that we can perceive some and we can't perceive others. Right? The laws of the Spirit, they're everywhere. The Spirit pervades creation. If you want to call the part of that we can perceive nature, it says these laws are the way that we can see the Spirit working in it, the way that we see the order of God work in it. Fine. But that doesn't mean that it's all of a sudden something different that can break into, the world that God created. Again, He can't break in, He's already there. So again, if we maybe think about the universe as suspended in God, suspended in the order of God, right? And then we see that in creation, the part of God that we can perceive. But it doesn't mean there's two different ways that things work. Right, let me give you an example. Right? Hopefully you watch the Flatland video. You get what I'm going to put here. All right, let's see you have red guy, blue guy, and they're living in, and green guy. They're living in a two-dimensional universe, right? There's their plane that they're living on. We're looking right down on them and their buggy eyes, right? Now let's do a miracle that is, not often reported, but been reported with people. People have experienced this miracle throughout cultures and times. Padre Pio have been reported to have performed this miracle. It's called bilocation. It's when someone can be in two places at once, right? And you might look at that and say, nope, that breaks the laws of nature. The person is breaking the laws of time and space by being in two places at once. Impossible, right? Unless it's magic, right? Unless it breaks the laws of nature. Well, again, let's say if you lived on a two-dimensional world, red guy's talking to blue guy, green guy's miles away, right? Nowhere to be seen is red guy. No, red guy's gonna get you with blue guy. They're gonna have a nice conversation about the nature of the transcendent. All of a sudden, what happens? Red guy gets lifted up, right? Red guy goes 3D. He's going to drop in miles away down there with green guy. Blue guy, his blue brain's going to be blown. He's not going to know what happened. Green guy's going to be like, where you came from? Hopefully it's better grammar than that, but he's going to be shocked. Oh my gosh. What the heck just happened? Right? It didn't break the laws of nature. It just utilized the law of nature beyond the perception of the Flatlanders. Right? So, oh my gosh, where was he? He was with, Green's like, he was with me. And Blue's like, no, he's with me. And Green's like, oh, I live 100 miles away. How's that possible? Right? Because he is coming up off the page. So they can't see him anymore. He's going into the third dimension. He's going with depth here. And then he's going to drop back in. Oh, over there. Right? Did it break the laws of nature? No, it just went beyond their perception. And if that's what we mean by the laws of nature, right? How the order of the universe can be expressed in our realm of perception, fine. But it's not, it's the super, in that case, the supernatural is not juxtaposed to the natural. It's just the application of the same laws in a way that goes beyond our perception, right? Oh, there he goes again. Where'd he go? He's gone. Oh, what? How'd he get over here? Oh my gosh. You know what's happening, people? He's coming up off your screen or going down below your screen, right? And so you can't see him. Now he's popping back up. Oh my gosh, here he comes. Right? He's not breaking the laws of nature. He's just breaking the 2D wall. Right? I mean, honestly, do you guys want to see this again? This guy's really something else. Oh, this time he's going down. Right? Oh, he's popped back up over here. Right? Is it a miracle? Yeah, it's a miracle. Does it mean that it breaks the laws? No, it doesn't mean it breaks the laws, right? Maybe it's just using part of the laws that we don't understand because we don't perceive that part. Right? Again, if you run this line, if you run the order, it could go beyond what we perceive. And so there it is different. I mean, it is not in our world. But maybe the laws don't have to, why are the laws contained to our world? Right? Again, maybe the order of God suspends the universe, holds it in it, right? It's just like the child in its mother's womb, right? The mother is looking out in the world. The child, that's super. The child doesn't know anything about that. The child might not even have vision yet, right? But it's still following the same laws, right? It's just beyond the perception of the child. So, if we want to, work with what Abba was saying here about miracles, maybe we scrap the event directly caused by God. That's got some theological problems too, right? The idea of a direct cause. God's presence is always mediated. His revelation always comes through something. Jesus Christ, right? It's the full mediation of God. Right? When we talked about prophecy and revelation, we talked about it being mediated. It comes through something. This idea of a direct cause, Doesn't fit with the rest of Christian theology. Right? But we can say, we do see God working through nature, and a supernatural event is unusual, out of the ordinary. Right? It's a sign that this visible world is not the only reality. Now that's a nice, I agree with that. Right? The visible world. So maybe we're talking about supernatural is just the application of God's law, the application of order in the universe in a way that's beyond our perception. And it's that would make it beyond science. We couldn't study it with science, right? But spirit, that which is imperceptible, and God is pure spirit, it doesn't work by different laws, right? It suspends our laws. All laws are the laws of the perceptible universe are part of, right, the spirit. Right? Creation is suspended in God. It works. It's in the womb of God, right? And I think that's what people are usually talking about when they talk about a miracle. Some kind of mysterious event that helps us see that God is working in our lives. Right? Like, we don't know, right, how we survived that accident. It doesn't mean that it broke the laws of nature, or you couldn't explain it scientifically. But it just meant in the experience, we understood that God was helping us. But then again, He's always helping us. So if anything's a miracle, then everything's a miracle.